I am Zetian, the sole woman to ever ascend the dragon throne as Emperor of China. My life was one of storms and triumphs, ambition and vision, love and betrayal. I was born in 624 during the Tang dynasty, a time of grand achievement, but also of ceaseless intrigue. As a young girl, I was taught not only to read and write, but to think. The lessons that others thought wasted on women became the seeds of my destiny. At 14, I entered the court of Emperor Taizong as a concubine. There, amid the labyrinth of politics and whispers, I learned the arts of survival. I listened more than I spoke. I watched as ministers and generals played their games, and I understood that power belonged not to the strongest, but to the shrewdest. When Taizong died, I was sent to a Buddhist convent, a fate meant to bury me. But fate answers only to those who dare shape it. Through cunning and will, I returned to court and captured the heart of his successor, Emperor Gaozong. As his consort, and later as empress, I proved not merely a figurehead, but a force. While others plotted, I governed. When Gaozong's health failed, it was my hand that guided the empire, my voice that issued decrees. I walked the line between shadow and authority with a grace none could match. I faced enemies on all sides, aristocrats who scorned a woman's rule, rivals who conspired in shadows. I crushed them without hesitation. Some called me ruthless. I called it necessary. For every accusation of cruelty, there were reforms that strengthened the state, elevated the examination system, protected peasants from exploitation, and promoted merit over privilege. I established agricultural reforms that improved food distribution and supported the livelihoods of millions. I elevated Buddhism as a spiritual counterbalance to the entrenched aristocratic Confucian elite, commissioning grand temples such as the towering Longmen grottos, and patronizing scholars and artists who captured the glory of my reign in poems and frescoes. In 690, I cast off all pretense and declared myself emperor of the Zhou dynasty. I founded a new dynasty, built on the foundations of the old, but infused with my own vision of governance. Under my rule, Buddhism flourished. Art, literature, and architecture reached new heights. I appointed officials from humble origins, breaking the stranglehold of old noble families. My court became a beacon of cultural renaissance, where women held posts of influence and where the sons of farmers could dream of shaping the empire. In those golden years, I often walked the grand halls of Luoyang, my second capital, marveling at the beauty we created. Temples adorned with golden Buddhas, academies where the brightest minds debated philosophy and governance, gardens where the rarest flowers bloomed. Yet the burden of the crown was heavy. Even as I achieved greatness, betrayal remained a constant companion. Ministers plotted, even my own blood conspired against me. My later years were marred by conspiracies from those who once praised me. I relied increasingly on trusted favorites and secret police to maintain order, an unrelenting vigilance born of necessity. Still, I found solace in my faith. I meditated in grand temples, seeking wisdom beyond this life of turmoil. I reflected often on the impermanence of power, on the fragile nature of human ambition. Power, I realized, was a fire. It could warm, it could illuminate, but it could also consume. I pondered the Dharma, the teachings of Buddha, and sought to understand my place in the great cycle of suffering and rebirth. I cherished personal moments of quiet amid the storm, reading ancient sutras by candlelight, walking alone in moonlit courtyards, seeking, always seeking, a balance between the emperor and the woman within. Was it all worth it? I asked myself, and the answer came as steady as a river, yes. For in every edict, every temple stone, every field sown anew, I left an imprint that no wave of time could wash away. When I abdicated, it was not in defeat but in wisdom. I returned the throne to the Tang, ensuring continuity, preventing civil war. I spent my final days in contemplation, free of titles, but not of memory. I died not long after, in 705, knowing that history would judge me harshly, and yet, inevitably, would remember. I am Zetian. I rose from concubine to emperor. I ruled as none before me. I shattered the boundaries set against my sex and reshaped an empire. Let those who whisper my name in scandal remember, too, that I brought order, prosperity, and power to the Middle Kingdom. And though emperors may fade, the legacy of what I built endures beyond the ages. In the centuries that followed my passing, the chronicles of men often sought to reduce me to mere scandal, to paint my reign with the brush of tyranny. Yet beneath their words lies the undeniable truth. My rule carved a path that others dared not tread. I reshaped the imperial bureaucracy, opening examinations and promotions to talent rather than noble birth. Even long after my death, the meritocratic ideals I championed continued to guide the empire, allowing generations of commoners to ascend through intellect and diligence. The temples and monuments I commissioned, the universities and academies I nurtured, became beacons of learning and spiritual reflection across China. The grandeur of the Longmen grottos, the elegance of the White Horse Temple's expansions, stood testament to my patronage of culture and faith. My influence reached beyond politics and governance. I opened space for women to exercise greater power, even if society later recoiled from it. My example lingered in the minds of countless women who dared to dream, who dared to believe that their worth was not lesser by birth. Today, historians and scholars revisit my reign with sharper eyes, unclouded by the prejudices of my enemies. They see not only the iron will but the steady hand that steered China through tumultuous times, strengthened its institutions, and expanded its horizons. I am Zetian, the Eternal Empress. Not merely a ruler, but a maker of legacies that the centuries have yet to silence.